Pickaxe.
Hello, and welcome to the Chance Encounters podcast. We've been running board game cafes around the UK for the past 7 years now. From hen do's to family reunions, from first dates to breakups, we've recommended the perfect game for every situation, and now we want a fresh challenge. Every episode, we'll be inviting a guest on to put our board game knowledge to the test. They'll come armed with an abstract and absurd scenario. It's up to us to figure out what that situation calls for and recommend a game that will totally fly their fantasy. Whatever recommendation our guest loves the most will score a point, and at the end of the series, one person will be crowned the Titan of board games. Whoa! Wow!
Yes.
Amazing.
We got there.
We did. I'm Richard Scarsbrook. I'm one of the founders of Chance Encounters. I've been here for the aforementioned 7 years. And if you've ever played during my childhood, I had there was like a golden age of video games. GoldenEye, if you know about it, it was one of my favorite games at the time. I was always that really annoying kid who would play Oddjob, who was like half height to everybody else, which I suppose put you at like pretty much perfect head height if you were going for body shots. But that was me. I would do that. I am joined by a guest host this week, Laura, or Lollipop Jai.
Hi everyone, I'm Ben. You can find me at Bedgars, most places. I do YouTube. I'm a part of the Yogscast. No, I'm kidding. I'm Lollip, also part of the Yogscast, or Lollipop Jai in full. I mostly stream on Twitch, and I am also on YouTube now. So, you know, there's always that if you want to check out the YouTube channel. But do I have any weird things from my childhood? Video games I played from my childhood. I several times made a Sims family of 7 kids and 1 adult and had them fight each other by painting. And anyone who was not good enough at painting would be sent to military school until only 3 was left. The adult would go and stand in the corner of the map and piss themselves to death, and that was about that's about as much as my childhood.
Just tortured
You were designing
yourself.
a reality show, like a reality show contest.
Well, you can't create a Sims family in The Sims 1 without an adult, and I wanted it to be just kids. So I had to have 1 adult, but I don't want the adult, obviously, because they're too autonomous. They can do too much. So I just had them stand in a corner, turn off free will, and they just can't do anything. And then they eventually die. That's fine. We just forget about them while we continue the battle of the kids.
You just have 7 children just looking after themselves.
That's right, they just order pizza. But in order to order pizza, they need money, so they have to sell paintings. And paintings there's no skills. Like, kids don't have skills when they're in The Sims. So it's purely RNG whether or not they're good at painting. And if they're not good at painting, bye to military school. And that's me.
I feel
Vicky,
like
how's
I
it
know
going?
you perfectly now.
Yeah, this explains so much.
Oh, no, don't say that. There's more to me than my psychopathy.
A slightly less morbid introduction, Dickie.
I mean, I don't know. I'm Dickie. I've been working really hard for Chance Encounters over the last kind of 6 years, and in this last year, I've just really taken my foot off the pedal. I just turn up and do the fun bits like this. It's great. I love it. I had a similar morbid thing. I played a game called Toka Touring Cars a lot as a youngster, and it was just a simple race game where your cars took damage, and I would play with my friends. How long can you drive the wrong way into traffic throughout the game? Because there was no penalty for driving the wrong way, and you just see how far the car would get destroyed. Like, how much would they let you dent this car? It was great.
That sounds like quite harmless fun.
Like, I feel like I created Burnout before Burnout existed.
I was going to say, it sounds like Burnout, doesn't it?
Yeah. I think these urges live within us, and we should just embrace them.
Exactly. Like, better to put them into video games than into real life, you know?
Speechless.
I mean, it was either tell you that or tell you what a horribly racist game my favorite game from my childhood was. So, I went with the
our
other.
guest for this week is Shea Parker, who hopefully has slightly less Sim skeletons in his closet.
Hello, yes, I am Shea Parker. I have a YouTube channel called RTFM where I teach board games in an entertaining way because that's the most boring part of board games. So why not make it fun? And the video game experience that might tell you about my personality. Let's see. When I was a little kid, I would always play video games with my older brother. And so I was always a sort of support role if we played Sonic. And Sonic the Hedgehog, I was always Tails. One thing we used to do, we played a soccer video game. And I don't remember which game this was, but it was one where you could turn off fouls, which is great because there were buttons that were specifically designed to let you foul people. And so what we would do is we'd turn off fouls, my brother would play the game, and I would go around shoving everybody until everyone on their team was injured.
I did that
And then
too,
it was very
playing
easy to
FIFA.
score goals.
American
never
soccer.
thought-
It's just, you've just
Yes, we
created
were
American
turning-
football.
Yeah, we're turning European football into American football.
I actually remember playing FIFA, and I would as a striker go up to the goalkeeper whilst he wasn't doing anything and just foul him and get sent off immediately.
Yeah.
It was great every time. Go on.
Occasionally, we would forget to turn it off, and you have to turn it off at the beginning of the game. And I would immediately start doing it, and then just 4 seconds in, yellow card, red card. Like, yeah, all right.
I suppose that was deserved. Yep.
Yeah, then it's a new game of how many teammates on our own team we can remove from the game and still do okay with it.
Is there a legal minimum for the number of people you can field?
7.
There you go.
So, okay,
There we
I didn't
go.
know that
Yes.
actually.
We were speed running how long until we're disqualified?
I've got it down to less than 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Amazing.
As fan, I'm sure all of us play like simulated games probably or some kind because we're all like kind of nerdy types. It's funny how we want to play simulated games only to be like to break all the rules as quickly as possible, isn't it? Pretty
Well, the
much.
most fun thing to do when you're playing like Sim City or whatever is to first build up a good city and then destroy it with aliens or tornadoes or whatever.
Yeah. Just there's definitely a word for it or a phrase for it. It describes like this part of human nature. We just have like this innate bloodthirst. It's a
I was gonna
need for
say
chaos.
sadism?
Yeah, that's probably it. Yeah.
I'm just getting this belief then that we definitely shouldn't entrust kids with any sort of power.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. No, yeah, I was a monster.
This is why we do give them the power in safe places like The Sims.
True. Exactly. I'm just saying I wouldn't do this in real life, would I? So
I don't know. There was originally the issues over video games and GTO and gun violence, right? I mean, sounds like we're just really lucky that Laura has not been given 7 children to just do with as she needs.
not yet. There's still time.
So much of a smile on your face.
Sorry, I'm being really unsettling. No, so what are we doing today?
Yes, let's segue somehow into Shea. I hear you've come up with a scenario that needs a board game resolution.
Absolutely, I have. Here's the thing. I'm going to tell you about something that I have actually spent time worrying about.
Okay.
And I shouldn't, but I have. So here we are. So in this nightmare world of mine, of my own devising, I am trapped in the past.
Mm-hmm.
I promise I literally have worried about this. So this is really gonna help me, I think. In the scenario, I am trapped in the past. And let's say for the sake of this, I've gone to one of board gaming's favorite settings, which is medieval Europe.
Mm-hmm.
But I am a person who lives in the 21st century, and thus I have precisely 0 useful skills when divorced from technology anyway. So what am I going to do? Well, luckily, I happen to have a board game with me. And I need to use this game to convince the local lord, famously capricious noble, that I am not only to be accepted into society, but respected, honored even. So what game do I have that will endear me to this mercurial man?
Amazing. Okay. So there's also, does it have to be complex enough that the Lord can't instantly be like, cool, thanks for this board game, here's a shiv?
Yeah, I mean, that would be nice. I would say it needs to make it seem like I am almost a wizard that I am able to have this game, play this game, and maybe teach this game or something. So yeah, I think it does have to be. I think a little bit of complexity is useful.
Okay, so it needs to be some sort of like revolutionary or something. Like,
Yes.
is it gonna?
Or I would say if it has some sort of component that is has some sort of like manual like dexterity component or something that like if I'm really good at, then it shows that like, oh, I clearly have some kind of skill.
Are you? How do you find dexterity games? Are you particularly dexterous?
I do okay with dexterity games. I really enjoy dexterity games, but it depends on the game. Like Crokinole, I'm decently good at.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not an expert by any means, but if no one's ever seen Crokinole, I think I could impress them.
Nice. I quite like the games like Ice Cool, which is where you're playing penguins and one of you is the school monitor, the hall monitor, and he's like going around trying to capture all the other ones while the other ones are trying to get fish and stuff it in their mouth as quickly as possible. That's a fun. It's like a Sabutio. I don't know if that translates well into the US either, but it's like a football.
Don't know that. I was say I don't know Sabutio, but I know Ice Cool. I've never actually. Here's the thing. I've seen people play Ice Cool, and I think it is very impressive what people can do with that game. The like trick shots that I've seen with that. But so I have the unearned confidence that I think I could be good at that if I put my mind to it.
Nice. Excellent. I mean, is there anything in particular that immediately you would write up? You'd be like, I can't take this genre of board games because I don't like it, or is there anything in particular that you're like, nah, that wouldn't.
Hopefully not.
No, I'm a pretty like omni gamer kind of guy, so I can usually find something in anything. I'm trying to think of like what I tend to like the least. I guess like really heavy negotiation games I'm a little bit less interested in, but other than that, yeah, I'm pretty much down for anything. So
Nice.
Do you want like ones that have like clear cut rules? I think something that Richard said earlier about like it doesn't need to be so complicated that if they took this board game off you and just ran with it, you could become disposable. But because
that's fair. I guess one that I'm clearly gonna just eat the rule book so that I'm the only person who knows how to play.
Mm-hmm.
Good idea.
And thus it needs to be complicated enough that one can't just glean the rules by looking at it. But also not so complicated that I can't memorize it. I should say, what was that?
You have become the arbiter. Like I feel like that's the medieval term for what you become.
And I will say that I'm decently good at memorizing rules. I literally teach games for a living, so that the floor or the ceiling is pretty high for like how complex a game can be in that sense.
I feel like on some level, just because you can read a rule book probably instantly puts you on a path to some form of power within this
being
society.
Literate, being literate.
You're not wrong.
You are able to read, and you're able to explain as well. That already makes you like more intelligent. I think that being more intelligent will put you in better standing, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not just saying that because the game that I have in mind is not complicated.
How do we feel about technology? So obviously technology is one of these things that would impress people from the past. But obviously, does it have a limited lifespan when you take it back? Or how are you taking batteries back with you? That kind of thing.
Here's the thing. If I'm prepared for this scenario, then I don't think I'm really trapped in the past. Like if I know that I'm going, I feel like at most I've got a couple like AA's on me, but I don't think I have an unlimited supply of power. I don't have internet. So as much in modern times, I don't mind technology. I don't mind app-driven games at all. But I think electricity might be a limiting factor here.
Yeah.
Can I just ask, are there in this period of time, fear of witches, magic, anything like that, would you say?
There might be. I mean, medieval Europe. So
I think technology is witchcraft and will get you beheaded 100%. So I think that
If you take back,
scrap
like-
all kinds of batteries and stuff. Probably a
this
good
is a
idea.
good point. I need to be revered in society, but not feared.
Yes.
Yeah.
So there's a fine line we're gonna have to walk here.
You're going to want to be liked, right? You're going to want to be liked. You're going to want to be come across charismatic, interesting.
Yeah.
A sort of like what do you call it? Like somewhat like a host of parties, but not someone that is necessarily better than all the lords, but someone who just like compliments them, who makes them feel good, who is able to entertain them without like overshadowing them. What do you think?
I think that's good. It sounds like you're getting towards something. You're
Okay.
leading up to
Okay.
a potential recommendation.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I mean, I liked, respected, not feared, not a threat to the Lord,
Exactly.
to the local Lord.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It would be quite interesting. You'd have to, like, if it's a trivia game, then most of the things won't have happened yet. If it was a game like Ticket to Ride, for example, they'll be like, what are these trains? Do you mean carriages?
Witchcraft?
Mhm.
Witchcraft?
Yeah,
More
exactly.
witchcraft?
This person's a thinker. Get him.
Yes.
So it'll be quite interesting in terms of exactly, like, you could play, there's like a game called Taverns of Tiefenthal, for example, which is like set in like beers and like a pub, for example. And that would be perhaps more setting appropriate, but there's a wide raft of games that just, you'd be like, no, they wouldn't understand this reference. They'd just be like Captain America, but not getting the reference.
It's true. Although potentially, I don't want to disqualify certain things because with the power of storytelling, I could, craft a scenario in which I could explain it in certain terms. I might reference things that could be called witchcraft, but in the guise of this is a story that we're telling. If the game is that kind of narrative, so it could theoretically be something with trains or perhaps with like spaceships or military like guns and stuff like that. And I'm just telling a grand epic. These are fantastical weapons that these people have, grand sky chariots or what have you. And so that could go in that route of like be the storyteller.
Is this going to be a unique game? Do you care about being able to create it and then send it to all of those other Lord friends or whatever? Or is this going to be, no, only your Lord gets access to this game?
Here's the thing. I know the story of Monopoly, and that doesn't lead to success for the original creator. So I do think that it needs to be something that I have like sole access to.
Right. So you need the Monopoly on whatever.
I need the Monopoly, yeah.
You had to go there, didn't you? You had to go there.
Sorry.
Oh dear.
I do want to, okay, if I can, I want to throw a very quick side shout out to some friends of mine who run a podcast called Remember. It's a history podcast. They recently did an episode on the history of Monopoly.
Cool.
It's very, very fascinating.
Ooh.
Matthew Jude and Paula Deming do this. And I highly recommend it. When you're done listening to this one, of course.
No, just immediately press pause. Go see that. Get the reference, and then come back, and you'll be laughing. It'll be hysterics.
Yeah.
Like that was a
Amazing.
funny joke because he said
There's
Monopoly.
amazing. There's amazing historical facts about Monopoly because it's been around for so long. If you see a Monopoly set with a full stop after one of the properties, that is incredibly valuable because that means it was used as an escape kit, or it was an escape kit for prisoners of war.
Mhm.
So based on what property the full stop is on, that is what location, what prisoner of war camp that set was sent to. And it would have, hidden in the Monopoly notes, it would have currency of that location. It would have a silk map, like baked into the board. So between the cardboard and the printing, it would have a silk map because silk doesn't run. The ink on silk doesn't run if it gets wet. It can be hidden in the shoe because it won't rustle. And they would also hide a file in that printing as well, so that you could get out. And it's absolutely incredible. Like you can find, like if it's Mayfair or Park Place, then it's in Scandinavia. And there's depending on where the full stop is after the property.
That sounds so cool.
Whoa.
There's a long and storied history out of anything that's been around for that long probably has a long and storied history. But yeah, reading about I hate the game. But the history is pretty cool.
I actually went in thinking, like, do you think it'd be funny if I just chose Monopoly and immediately, like, discredit everything about my board gaming experiences and just like, have you guys heard of a game called Monopoly? It's actually really good. And everyone just sort of immediately going, why is she on this podcast again? But also, it wouldn't be a terrible suggestion, honestly. No. I think this is quite a broad request for you. I think there are some games that definitely wouldn't work, but for the most part, it's pretty broad. I think it's just going to be a matter of who's going to come up with the most appealing one to you as someone with deep anxiety, apparently, about this happening for real.
I don't think it's a bad thing to take a game to the medieval past and have a game that, appeals to the base instincts. I think that's quite, I think that's something that would go down well.
Yeah.
But, are we wanting to kind of, is this purely for fun, or are we wanting to kind of, because a lot of games have that kind of didactic kind of teaching element. Are we taking it back and trying to, how butterfly effect are we going?
Oh, if I'm trapped in the past, I don't care about the present. No, okay. I don't live there anymore.
All right, cool.
I don't mind if I'm not born in the future, because I'm right here.
No, I see. So you're trapped with no hope of returning home. Is that what you're saying?
Trapped, yeah.
Like you have accepted your fate and just want to live a good, easy life. Yes?
Yes, absolutely. Whether I accept it or not, it's what's happening. So I need to use the tool at my disposal.
Got it.
Do you have any idea of how you got to the past?
I probably angered a mad scientist or a genie or something. I do go about doing that on occasion. So,
do you just insult lamps before you rub them or something?
Oh, always, every time.
Yeah.
Listen, you got to establish dominance with your genie.
Okay. Well, why do you deserve to become someone that's not just a peasant if you're already a genie insulter, a magician angerer?
This is what I want. I've come to you with a request.
It's true.
We're here to serve,
Listen,
I guess.
You can say that I deserve this is my just desserts, but I still want to be comfortable.
Fair enough.
Yeah. We have to do our best. That's the aim. We can't give you bad ones.
Yep, it's true. Yep, I still want to win.
Seems like you're the ones who are trapped.
Oh my god. Oh god.
Yeah. So yeah, the new prompt is give me a game that will ruin your present.
Anything that can teach this person to somehow become the new king of, I'm assuming England, if we're talking medieval, just purely because that's
Europe. Yeah, I don't speak any other languages. And honestly, I know that medieval English is not the same as real English, but we're going to hand wave that a little bit, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, apparently accents, like, they didn't sound too dissimilar to Americans, at some point. So you might just blend in. They might think you're a mystical, strange foreigner, but hopefully a charming and charismatic and totally not scary one, hopefully,
exactly,
with the power of board games. Right?
I think the ideal is for me to become so well liked by the Lord that I am named heir apparent or something like that.
Oh wow! So you're going to usurp their child.
Yes, yeah, if I can.
Do your board games need to be capable of committing regicide of any kind? Would that help?
No, but if you can, might be points in your favor.
Okay. Yeah. There you go. Just a thought, guys. Just a thought.
Cool.
But obviously, it needs to look like an accident.
Yeah.
Or natural causes. If we could do natural causes, that'd be even better.
Playing board games too hard, it led to their downfall.
They just loved me too much. They loved the game that I brought.
They just didn't eat for like 3 days. Just ignore the bruising.
I was thinking, like, what games have like some physical elements to it? There's a game called, I want to say it's called like Jungle Dash or something. Do you guys know what
Jungle
I'm talking
Speed.
about? Jungle
Yeah.
Speed.
Yeah.
That one can get really violent.
Oh,
There's also
yeah.
one where you throw a burrito. You could just throw an explosive
that's
burrito.
soft, though. Sure.
There you go.
I'll
there you go.
hide a grenade
Sure.
in my throw burrito.
If I'm playing Jungle Speed, I will have a quick glance at everybody's nails just to make sure that it's an even
And
playing
jewelry.
field.
I know, right?
Jewelry, yes.
I've seen some people come to this game with rings that essentially mean they're playing with knuckle dusters on. Like it's insane.
I used to play. I don't know if it's called. It has a few different names. We called it Egyptian War. Also, Egyptian Rat Screw is one version of it that I've heard. It might have a different name. It's basically just a card game. But it's one of those things where everyone reveals a card at the same time, and if there's doubles, then you slap it. Or
Right.
you go one at a time. But if a double happens, then you slap it. First to slap it gets the pile. You want to get the most cards. I got really good at this game, and to make things more challenging, my friends and I came up with what we called full contact Egyptian War, which was if you slap the pile of cards and you leave your hand there, and then someone else hits your hand hard enough that you recoil in pain, those cards are up for grabs again. So
Oh, wow.
Oh.
So a friend of mine developed a technique of holding his hand like this. He called it the scorpion strike.
Wow.
For listeners, I have my hands pointed as if they were a snake, with my fingers, and he would just slam that down. It wasn't even trying to slap the card because he knew I would slap it faster than he could. He was trying to hit my hand.
Oh, jeez.
What were we talking
That's
about?
hilarious. Yeah, I was just thinking if you're playing that game, you accidentally wore your ring, which has like a poison spike on it. Oopsie.
Yes.
Slap.
Ugh.
Oh, you got a prick on your finger suddenly. Oh, it wasn't me. Sorry.
It's all right. I'm pretty sure if they just don't treat cuts with clean water, they'll probably die. So
Yeah, I don't even need
Dysentery and
poison
all
in
the
that
rest
case.
yeah.
Oops, I accidentally coughed on my hand and then slapped you with it. Oopsie daisies. I have gout. Oopsie. Don't even know if that's contagious and or deadly.
I mean, I'm not suffering from it yet.
I have
but
the
I'm
Black
pretty sure-
Plague. Slap. I'm just guessing, okay? I'm no historian. I guess I need to listen to Remember.
Hey, call
There you
back.
go. There you go. What a callback.
Ah,
I'm sweating. Go
okay.
on.
So we're looking for a board game that will give you some edge in the medieval period that will either make you sort of famous or beloved without making you feared, that preferably is unique enough that it can't easily be duplicated, and interesting enough that your lord absolutely adores you above whichever heir they had.
Yeah.
Um,
And let's be honest, their heir was probably like. Can we swear on this podcast? Their heir was probably a piece of shit. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
if we're just playing by numbers, that's gonna be true. So sometimes board games can help bring that characteristic out in a person. It makes the Lord realize how terrible their actual
right.
blood relatives
Oh
are.
my god, the answer is Monopoly after all. Oh my god, that breaks up families all the time.
It does. Never has there been a good game of Monopoly at Christmas.
Literally never. Literally the worst game.
That's a rough and reasonable setting?
I think this is a good set of parameters that we've got.
Okay. Do we have any other questions that are like we need to know to be able to recommend board games?
I'm good. I've got my game.
Oh, hot damn.
I've got a couple
Okay.
of games, so I'm a bit torn. I'm not sure which one to pick. So I guess I'll try to. So I'm not telling what they are just yet, but one of them is more complicated, but can only be played up to about 4 players, maybe 5 at a squeeze. But the other one is better in large groups. So which one do you imagine being better? Now I'm thinking that if you're going to be trying to please just one lord and potentially family members, and potentially, depending on how busy he's been, he might have a big family, but he might have a small family. But maybe you're all trying to please a bunch of lords, so you might want to have a party game. So you tell me which one sounds more appealing.
Let's see. I think let's go for the smaller scale. I think with a smaller scale game, I'll be able to get more face time with the Lord and sway them to my side.
So do you think that like a player count, it's actually a really good question. A player count for this board game, is it like a 2-player board game, or are we talking like 4 is fine?
I think it's got to be more than 2, because again, we're trying to discredit the Lord's son now. I've decided that that's a tertiary or a secondary aim of this is also need to discredit the Lord's son. So they need to be able to play in this game. So it's got to be more than 2.
Yeah.
I'm going to say probably like 6 maximum. Let's say a 2 to 6.
Okay.
Somewhere in that range.
All right. And do we have any restrictions on stuff like time limits, for example? Does it matter how long this particularly takes?
I mean, what did medieval people even do with their time? They probably have a lot of time to spend. So I'd say that's open-ended.
Okay, cool. I think we've asked all the important questions now. I think we should probably move to some recommendations.
Sure.
Good to me.
All right. Oh my god.
Oh no, I feel the same. Don't worry. I feel the same. I'm talking to someone who knows a lot about board games. Dickie's fine, obviously. Like,
and pretty smug about it. Yeah,
it's fine. Be smug. You know, I'm fake Ben. Like, how am I supposed to live up to being fake Ben at this point? You know, but hopefully, my passion for this game will come out, and that'll be enough.
I honestly say to a lot of people when they talk about anything, I will happily listen to anybody talk about almost anything if they are passionate about it.
Good,
like that's real. I used to be a bartender, and so I got very good at just listening to people talk about what they cared about, regardless of whether I had any interest in it beforehand or not. But if someone's passionate about it, I'll listen. I will find something to enjoy. I once listened to someone talk to me about why Bing has a better image search function than Google. And while I can't say that I care about it now, in the moment, because this guy was so passionate about it, I was like, okay, interesting. Tell me more.
Yeah, that is impressive, because that sounds ultra boring. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
That's really that is impressive.
It's all about what you bring to the table.
I mean, I feel reassured that you'll at least listen to me, but I also wouldn't mind if it was like actually a credible, good board game to recommend. But I am not going first. I'm going to let someone else go first, please. Thank you very much.
Excellent. Let's get on to the recommendations. So, Dickie, do you want to go first?
Yeah. So I am very much. You're going to be a wizard through the power of suggestion. And I am maybe not thinking of our future, but your future.
Appreciate it.
Because, you know, you go to medieval times and you're missing some creature comforts. It's maybe not the standard of living that you were used to. So by recommending this game, I am putting you in the role of interior designer. This is Castles of Mad King Ludwig. And I'm gonna say, by playing this, you are putting ideas into this king's head that are gonna give you the comfy future that you deserve. You know, you are going to be an absolute wizard because you're the only one who's going to be able to tell them what each room is and why it's great and why you need one. And why that king needs one in the castle that you will presumably live in, having helped so much. You know, I think giving this king ideas about economic downfall is maybe not the best thing I've ever done, but you know, Mad King Ludwig spent essentially his entire fortune on amazing castles, and they're still here today, even if he isn't. I think that you could give yourself a life of comfort by recommending this game to the king and giving some fantastic ideas in his head, and you know, questioning why why doesn't your son know about grand bedchambers? Why isn't that something he's thought of? Maybe he should go in the hall. I mean, there's dungeons, there's armories, there's, all the things you need for military prowess, comfort, grandeur. This is all the things that your medieval future needs. For those who haven't played the game, it's a tile laying game. Everyone's building their own castle. And each turn, someone will be the master builder who will set the price of each tile. So they can assign a value to each tile, and the other players will buy those tiles, and the money will go to the master builder. So you need to make things nice enough that you're going to have enough money to keep going a whole round, but also make sure the stuff that you want to buy doesn't get taken by the other players as well. So it's a nice little balancing act of working out what the true value of things is. But you can make these incredible castles as well. And I really like the stories that kind of emerge from it. Why is the mold room next to the cheese room? Why are we entering in through the bog to this castle? Why is that? And I think you can really use these powers that you have of some functional interior design knowledge to bring down this king's son, being like, he hasn't thought this through at all. I don't know. That's my recommendation.
I do like the because I am well acquainted with Castles Mad King Ludwig. I actually did a teaching video for it back in the day, and the thing you mentioned about setting prices, I think also works especially well for this, because if I want to be a little bit, sycophantic towards the Lord, I can make sure I know what they're looking for, set those prices kind of low, versus the son, I can set, prices for his, the rooms that I know he wants a little bit higher. And then later on be like, yeah, he did so poorly. I don't know why. He spent all his money on the mold room. Why do you even have a mold room in your castle? It's a ridiculous thing to do. Is this what he's going to spend his money on?
Fritters it away. God.
Plus, the new edition is super duper fancy and will be. I find it impressive now, let alone in medieval times. It's got weighted swans, Shea. Weighted swans.
Something I never knew I needed in a board game until just now.
That is impressive.
I mean, they are incredibly satisfying to pick up and put down. I'm not going to lie to you.
Does that come in the base box?
No, that is in the super duper fancy collector's edition, which
Just
I may have
super
not
duper
spent
fancy
way
one.
too much money on. Yes.
But we can. I mean, in this hypothetical, we can say that I have the super duper fancy one.
For sure.
Yeah.
Didn't bring a suitcase. Did bring this cube of Mad King Ludwig.
Anyways, about 6 kilograms.
It's big enough to be a suitcase. Yes.
Amazing.
Oh my goodness. That's certainly grand.
Well, strong start, I think.
Would you like to be second or last, Laura?
I'll go next. That's fine.
Okay. So
first I have a few points to make. I just think that interior design is in some ways sort of important, but I think what's going to make my game stand out better than this fancy schmancy one-off game is that there's a high level of replayability, and because the rules are kind of complicated, and you're certainly going to need the entire board and not very easily replicated, you're going to be called upon all the time because the lords are going to be addicted to this game. And it is for those that don't know me very well, know my favorite game is Dominion. That's the game I'm recommending. Are you familiar with this game?
I am.
Yes, so it is a deck building game set in medieval times, but it has all the different things that lords of that time should be familiar with. Things like monasteries and villages and mines and, all kinds of different cards that they can buy and collect. It's great for 4 players, And you can either play like very democratic, just play your own game, or you can attack others and, as we like to call it, screw over people by giving them curses, attacking them that way. So if you want to, you give the opportunity to the sons and things to do things like attack, and that might get the lords kind of riled up. But then you can play like what do you call it, conservatively, and you could even easily let them win by just not playing as well as you could. You could take different cards, but it's always fresh, it's always different, it's always mystifying, but at the same time, not too mystifying that it's unfamiliar and therefore scary. Like, there are witches in it, but, it's just a board game, so they know fully well how they work. And I think above all, it's, as you said, it's not too complicated, but also complicated enough that it's not something they could just run away with and leave you to it. Super replayability. So you're always going to be having FaceTime with these people because they're going to want to play with you all the time. And plenty of opportunity for different strategies to make your opponents either look stupid or look good, whatever you prefer. But did I mention that it's extremely fun and just the best game, the best board game ever? I mean, honestly, I think it will help them to show you what kind of person you are. You're an intelligent person, your strategy, you're able to teach the rules very well to them. And that immediately makes you more interesting. But you also can choose, how you play the game to suit, your personality. I think that the most powerful people in history are the ones that aren't born with power, but those that command power just by being like charismatic and interesting, but not too interesting. They are deeply liked, and I think that you could do that with this game. What do you think?
I think it's good. Yeah, aiming to be that power behind the throne kind of situation. I definitely like that. Since we said, I could have the big box version of Castles, I could also have Dominion with the billion expansions that it comes with.
Absolutely.
So have that box filled. It will be a different game every single time you play. I agree that you can go easy on people if you need them to like you. You can play in such a way where you can be more aggressive. It can be less aggressive. So I can suit the capricious nature of the nobility. Yeah, I think there's definitely something there.
You're able to build your own deck, which shows that you are able to build your own empire. you have strategy. You're clever. You have logic. All that stuff. You're not a peasant, okay? You're not just like a little peasant.
It's definitely one of those things where I can, as we're playing, the lords will have experience with statecraft, and thus will understand some of these things. Whereas the son is the person I'm always going to be like, you only get the one buy action unless you get an extra card to do that. So
yeah.
Your plan's not working.
Yeah, exactly. Sorry. Yeah, you are always going to be like, don't you know the rules? The lords have been following it perfectly, even if they haven't. You just don't point it out to them, obviously. Why not just give them, don't tell them, but give them an extra estate card instead of an extra copper at the beginning of the game, and they won't know. And you just, then they're just screwed from the beginning.
Yeah, the ability to cheat in this game is a point in its favor for this specific situation. Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
I will say that it puts your prospects of a king-sized bed with a beautifully comfy mattress back around at least 100 years. You ain't getting that Queen's Chamber anytime soon.
What, based on playing Dominion? Why not?
I don't know every expansion of Dominion. I wouldn't be surprised if there was a card in there which was like,
that's true,
fancy bedroom.
These are like,
there's a lot out there.
So many different options. Yeah, I think like above all, like I just like to imagine if I'm in your shoes, and not just because I love this game, but like, what game do I want to be saddled with for the rest of my past, like trapped in the past life? Am I going to be stuck with? Do I want to be playing a game about interior design, or am I playing frickin' Dominion, the best card game of all time? It just seems like a no-brainer to me, to be honest. And I'm sure they'd agree. I know I'm right. I know I'm right. Okay.
Just bringing the fire here, the heat. Well, I guess we'll move on to my recommendation, so Laura can also shoot that down as well.
Sure.
Yeah. So keeping with oldies but goodies, because all of these have been like out for a little while, keeping a medieval theme, but this one isn't necessarily around medieval England. It's technically Forgotten Realms. It's a board game called Lords of Waterdeep. Now, Lords of Waterdeep is probably the best D&D themed board game they've ever come out with. It is it's actually genuinely really interesting. It's like a worker placement, and then you've got like areas and shops you're going to, and you'll be building new shops as you add tiles to the table, and you'll be doing a bunch of really fun stuff. It'll be fiscally responsible as well, so when that heir fritters away the money on common buildings, then we'll know that they were incorrect. And it's quite interesting. There's 2 expansions with it, which are, well, I think it's actually only 1 expansion, but it has 2 versions in it, or whatever. It's thematically good. It's an entertaining game to play. I have played it several times, although it doesn't probably have the replayability of big box Dominion. I'll give Laura that. But I wouldn't mind being saddled with it for a while. It's got that thoughtfulness in terms of it's all these lords competing, so they'll probably be like, "Oh yeah, this is I can see myself in this game. I'm so like it just registers rather than." Well, to be honest, Dominion does a pretty good job, and Mad Kidling also. I'd say it's at least on par with that. And you could maybe slowly chisel the wooden meeples to represent whoever it is that you're playing with as well. So you could personalize it to be like, hey, look, Mr. Lordling, I've got you a premium set of ebony board game meeples that you can play with it. Because why not?
Yeah.
But it plays between 2 and 5 players. Sweet spot is probably the 3 to 4 probably, and it doesn't it's not too long. It does take up a little bit of table space, but that's fine. It just means that the Lord gets to show off how much of their like a massive table. They're like, cool, look at how rich I am. Beyond that, is there any way else I can sell this? I think it's a fantastic game. All the things that Laura said about Dominion, I'll say about this one.
It's the best. It's the best. It's the best. But although I do regret that the one thing that Dominion doesn't have that these 2 games do is like fancy tokens and stuff, which I do regret. And so I totally understand if you're looking for grandeur and you're looking for expense and you're looking for marvel in that respect, then I understand that. But I think that Dominion makes up for it in just how long it's going to live in. You're going to be remembered as that guy who has the cool board game, not just the one with the pretty weighted swans. Sorry, Dickie.
Sorry.
There's actually brings up an interesting point, which is because whatever I bring will be the only modern board game that exists in this world. It will be the cool board game. Like the components that we consider to be, this is so much. Listen, when you talk about a weighted swan, that sounds amazing to me. To a lord, they'd be like, of course the quality would be the best it could be. I would pay for nothing less. They wouldn't know that this is an improvement upon what it otherwise would be. Rich, you mentioned that I could be whittling the meeples to look like the lords. I do need to refer you to the very beginning of this prompt where I told you that I have no skills.
But by this point, you'll have introduced the game to them, and then you'll just be able to get their woodworker. They've obviously got a woodworker, right?
Obviously,
if I'm finding a whittler, I'm going back to medieval Europe to do it.
The places to find a whittler, definitely medieval Europe.
Yeah, I'm sure they probably have like miniature painters somewhere too. Of course. They must do right.
Now, of all of these games, I actually have the least experience with Lords of Waterdeep. If I've played it, it was a long, long time ago. So remind me a little bit about the setting of this. I know it's D&D medieval. Does it lean into heavily into the fantasy aspect of it?
Not so
in
much
the setting, or is it more?
You're playing a lord of Waterdeep, which sounds like it's obvious from the title, but the idea is that you take a lord and they'll be like, oh, you've got these quests to complete. And the idea is that as a lord, you get to hire minions to go out and do these quests that have been assigned to you. So you'll be like, oh, I need some warriors and some rogues to do some skullduggery. And you'll send them off, and then you'll get rewards and you'll get points because everybody needs points. And the game ends after 7 rounds, so it's always 8 rounds, and it'll end so within a reasonable time. But it's all about getting those sweet points. Everyone loves to see their counter go around the board and always be ahead of someone else. And there's also like these mandatory, so you can manipulate the board by playing a worker onto a free space, and that will either give you some people, it might give you the opportunity to take more quests, it'll give you opportunities to take intrigue cards, and intrigue cards might help you or they might hinder your opponents as well. And so it's kind of going to these different locations that have like fanciful names like Waterdeep Harbor or other ones. And what'll happen is you'll play some evil down and then you'll take the action and you'll kind of carry on. And you'll, depending on the player count, you'll probably have like 3 or 4 actions around trying to be the most efficient way of doing it. And by completing these quests, you'll get all the points, and points mean prizes. So obviously, so that's like roughly. It's set in. It's not too fantastical. There is some wizards, i.e., one of the figurines is wizards, and there may be some stuff. They've got like paintings of like potential monsters, but
there's
I'm
definitely
thinking
like
back in
owl bears and quests and stuff.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
there's some D&D fantasy in there.
there's some,
sounds like witchcraft to me. Yeah, it's not a good idea.
there's some
Yeah.
tropes.
Do you really want to
You don't see
introduce
them
this
owl
kind
bears
of
without some
this kind of
witchcraft.
fiction? I'm just saying, yeah. Like it's the kind of witchcraft that like can't have existed yet, and it's just like too weird, too nerdy. Okay, these are lords we're talking about.
Okay,
They're cool.
but in Dominion, like
bear.
Dominion base game, I'm pretty sure has like witches which give out curses. So if
Yeah,
we're gonna go
exactly.
to like witchcraft, then I don't think we want to
Yeah,
be
but that's-
talking Dominion.
That is the witch that they understand. It's not
Oh, sorry.
weird. Like it's they have control over this because it's clear what it does. They have
devil you
control.
know.
Yeah, exactly. So they understand that it's like, oh, we can just role play something that we're afraid of, and that's far better than just being afraid, of like what are these strange creatures? Yeah. I make it sound like people in the medieval times didn't have any kind of like fairy tales or fantasy. They absolutely did.
Right?
But I'm just going with it.
I mean, they have a very narrow view. Like, they hadn't explored the world. There could definitely be, oh, those are from another place. I'm a traveler. I've been places. My accent is exotic. So I've seen that all of these things exist. I've defeated them. I'm a powerful warrior. Don't test me. I would hurt you.
There are so many expansions to Dominion. There's just so many that there's like all kinds of different cards I can come across, but none of them have anything to do with owl bears or whatever this nonsense.
I feel like someone out there is going to be like, actually, Laura, I think you'll find there's this very specific card that in fact would send you straight to the gallows.
Nocturne is one of the expansions for Dominion, and it has literally only fantasy creatures like imps and fairies and stuff like that. So, but like this is all stuff that hopefully they're familiar with and feels
That's
like,
fine.
oh, this feels really.
I can slip that expansion into the Lord's Son's bedchambers and then be like, he's found some evil stuff.
Oh, wow.
This is the like planting drugs in their room kind of strategy. Though I need to circle back real quick to something you said which tickled me, which is the idea that I in any circumstance would have an accent that would be considered exotic, which is not something as a like Western American man I have ever in my life had.
Fair.
So that is an intriguing concept. Though it could still work with any of them, but I just needed to say that's what a fantasy that would be.
Exactly. And more so pronounced in the choice of Waterdeep, 100%.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I think I do want to say about Waterdeep that because it's a worker placement game, I think an interesting point here is that because you are, everyone is taking the role of a lord, and you are moving around the people that are under you, that will subconsciously put into the lord's head the idea that, oh, I'm on equal terms as you. We are the same. Because I'm also moving around my lessers.
Exactly. You're also that lord. Oh
Yes.
yeah. Shea, maybe I should elevate you somewhat further. Yes.
Yes.
My game is literally called Dominion. You're literally taking over you're creating your country, and that involves lots and lots of different things, and creating your deck, aka your kingdom of like all kinds of gardens.
It's too abstract, Laura. I don't know what you're talking about.
It's in the name.
Well, Shea, do you have any questions, any further clarifications that you would like from us?
Let's see. I think I've got an idea of which one's gonna win.
Okay.
And there's a reason behind it, which is I'll have to explain. It's honestly a house rule that I have with this game.
Oh no.
So if we're ready to go into the final,
Please.
All right. So if I want to make it dramatic, I guess I'll go through the ones that are not quite going to work for me, unfortunately.
Okay.
I'm gonna say, because I think Lords of Waterdeep. I think Lords of Waterdeep is a solid choice, but I'm not gonna pick this one. I think because the amount of variety in that game, because it just doesn't have quite as much expansion material and stuff like that with it, is a little less than the others. I don't ever want this to go stale. I want to be on board with the Lord for as long as I can.
You can say it doesn't have the weight to be able to kill an heir. That's
also
fair enough.
that I can't crush my rival with it bodily. So there is that element to it. Unfortunately, Lords of Waterdeep, I'm not gonna pick. So between Dominion and Castles of Mad King Ludwig, I am going to go with Castles of Mad King Ludwig. And for all Dominion also an excellent choice, but what's putting Castles over the edge for me is I am trying to establish this connection with the Lord, and whenever I play Castles, I have a house rule, which I've never been able to do, but I believe that we could if you put your mind to it, which is that everyone's building out their own castle. So one castle here, one castle there. And sometimes when you're playing, I've built out so far into this direction, my castle's actually very close to your castle. And so my house rule with castles is that if you ever get your rooms close enough that they actually touch, it becomes a co-op game, and you become partners. And so for this reason, I think that I have to go with castles because it's going to fit into my strategy of trying to get the Lord on my side, realizing that, what better way could there be than for us to join forces? Of course, it was so obvious. Look at this, what we've done so naturally. And I think that is going to be my best bet at sealing the deal in that regard. So
nice.
my choice is Castles of Mad King Ludwig.
Well, congrats, Dickie.
Yeah, fair enough. Well done.
So,
well done again.
Do you feel that you have adequately allayed your anxiety associated with the being dragged back in time? Will Mad King Ludwig assuade it?
If I have Castles of Mad King Ludwig now, I think I'll be okay. If I don't have that, I will be screwed.
Yeah.
100%. I'm going to die instantly. But
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. It's a good thing Dickie came up with it then. Excellent.
Yeah. And okay, I was going to say I have Castles of Mad King Ludwig, so I can just start carrying that on my person at all times.
There you go. Oh my goodness.
I don't have the big box, which we've established that I need. So
we all
I guess
know what you got to do immediately after this podcast then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's worth it. Trust me.
Amazing. nice.
Been
I'm
a
an
minute
ex-
since I
saying
played that
that.
game. I need to play it again. I really enjoy it.
Got to make sure that you
played
know
it,
those
actually.
rules so you can eat them immediately.
Yes.
You got to watch.
Yeah. Oh
Door.
yeah, edible rules. How big are the rules made of cake?
Yeah. Can they be printed on rice paper?
Are they ever?
Well, thank you so much for coming on the podcast, Shay.
Thank you so much for having me. It's so much fun.
Where can people find you? What are you up to?
So people can find me on YouTube. That is primarily where I do all of my stuff. I have a channel called RTFM. You can find that youtube.com/RTFM show. I also make videos for Rahdo on occasion. I do run-throughs for the Rahdo channel. And I've recently started working with a new channel called Above Board. It's a new channel, but it's going to be really big. It is all things board games with a focus on entertainment. So it's a lot of board game sketch comedy and stuff like that. So go check out Above Board. And if you want to see me in person, I'm going to be at Gen Con, which, assuming this comes out before Gen Con, which is coming up very, very soon, that will be very, very soon. So I'll be wandering around the halls of that, and I will have a live show with Above Board. So go and check that out if you're in the area.
And if you do see Shay, make sure he has the game Castles of Mad King Ludwig on his very persons.
And if I don't, maybe you should remedy that.
Yeah.
Someone
I
give
can't-
that man
I
a
can't
big
ask.
box.
Not too many of you though. That might be awkward.
Yeah, I'm just inundated with boxes of Castles of Mad King Ludwig.
They're not light things.
No.
Well, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. It has been an absolute delight. And you can, if you're listening on the podcast on Spotify or wherever you enjoy them, consider subscribing to our YouTube channel. It is Chance Counters Podcast, I believe. It's a really catchy name, mainly because that's what we do. And otherwise, we will see you next time. Thank you so much. Bye.
Bye bye.
Bye.
Bye bye.